Welcome back to a new video, and on this occasion is the KEYLAB Mark III. This guide is organized into chapters. You can easily navigate to a specific section by using the description or the timeline of this video. If you like all of this, please like and subscribe, and this channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks, you can go to the links at the description, and you have links for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. Let me give you first a quick start. I know most of you just want to get started. Most of the sections of this controller do something simple, but we also have more functions behind the scenes. Once we cover the most common parts, we will deep dive into the very specific functions. Now remember, everything's time-coded, so you can go to those sections directly. Now, as soon as you connect and turn it on, it will ask you to select a program. When on a program, the faders and the knobs that you have all over the place will do something very specific to that program. On the user program, you can just create your custom profile. I will show you how to do this later. Then on the Arturia program, you get it to control analog lab and Arturia synths. And on the DAW control, you can control tracks and perform DAW functions. You can select one from here and just push the encoder just to select one. I'm going to do so. I'm going to just do the Arturia. But you can also change it by going to the program right here. If you tap it, then you can use the pads. The first one will be the Arturia program. And then you can just go to the DAW program by just using the pads. Still, you can use the buttons right here. If I go to Arturia, I'm getting it. If I go back to program and then go to the DAW, I'm getting it as well. For now, I will select the Arturia program, and then I'm gonna just tap the program to get out. And as you can see on the display, I'm using Analog Lab, and it's just a very simple Juno patch. At the bottom, you have the octave buttons. Notice that if you go up or you just change it, it will go up or go down, and it will tell you if you're one or many down, and also it says on the screen. Now what you can do, you can just tap both at the same time, and it will always just go back to the center. Then at the top you have the transpose buttons, and this one they do the same. Instead of going by octaves, you go by semitones. And the screen also tells you how much you're going up or down. And again, it's the same. Pressing both at the same time will always reset. And then you have the Midi, and this one will set the Midi channel. And as you can see right here, you can select one of the 16 different Midi channels. And for this, you just need to press and then select a Midi channel. So I'm going to press, and I'm going to maybe do Midi channel number 7. And now notice that it's the 7, or maybe I can just make it 16 or go back to the 1. If we keep going up, we have the program. We will talk about this later. But then you have the settings, and this one takes you to the settings. And here with the encoders and the different buttons, you can adjust the values or the settings for the encoders, the aftertouch, the velocity. It's the main configuration of the keyboard. We will go into detail much later. To get out of settings, you just need to press settings, and it will go back to the main screen. Now then you have the bank up or down, and this is just about the pads. It really depends on the instrument that you're using. In this case, I have a synth, so the pads will just give me notes or tones, and the bank up or down will just transpose or take you one up or just down. And that, again, really depends on what you're using as an instrument. If I select a drum rack, this will control the drum rack. Also, the pads are just velocity sensitive, and you get aftertouch. So when you press, you will see the velocity on the screen, but also you can just press, and you will see the aftertouch working on the screen and how much you're getting. And also you get the value of the pad, the number of the pad, and the note value. When you're using a drum kit, if whatever pad you press, you have a sound, well, it will play it. But if you change it, I'm going to go up maybe twice, and notice that I have no sound. Well, but you can see it on the screen on the drum kit that I'm tapping an empty slot. Again, just to reset back to the center, you just press both at the same time, and you will be back. Moving on from the pads, you have the MIDI effects and the transport controls. And right here, everything at the bottom works as expected. Play will start playing back, stop will stop, and then rec, of course, means rec. If you have a count in, it will count in, and then it will start recording. Then you have the tap tempo. You just can tap and get the tempo from there. Super simple. Then you can turn on or turn off the metronome. All this just pretty basic and, super easy to understand. If you want to enable the loop, you have it right here. You just can toggle on or toggle off. And then you have the transport controls. And depending on which DAW you're using, you can move your cursor forwards, or you can move it backwards. Simple as that. You can triple tap the stop, 1, 2, 3, to send panic messages. And this is because if you have a note that's stuck, that sometimes happens, you can just kill it by triple tapping the stop. Now then you have the save, quantize, undo, and redo. And they will just do that. But you need to be aware that they work depending on the program you are in. If you are on an Arturia program and you have the DAW open, whenever you do undo and redo, this will work for the Arturia synth that you're working with. If I go to program and just change it to maybe the DAW, if I hit the undo and redo, and notice that this goes on right now because I'm using the DAW program, the undo and redo will work for the DAW and not for the synthesizer. In the case of the Arturia program, I'm going to go back to that Arturia program. The quantize and the save, they don't do much. But if we go to the DAW, the quantize will quantize clips, and the save will do something very specific, depending on the DAW. In the case of Ableton, for example, it will not save your session. The only thing that it does, it will capture the retrospective recording. So yeah, most of these functions will depend on the DAW, but you can change this. Remember, right now we don't have it, we can create a user or create our own custom program, and we can customize all of this. But we will talk about that much later. For now, I will get back to the Arturia program. Then at the top, you have the Midi functions. You have the hold, the chord, the scale, and the arp. If one of them is bright, it means that that function is on. Same with scale, same with the arp. The chord, scale, and arp do something very specific, and you have a lot of functions. The thing is that if you turn it just on, it will turn it on with whatever configuration you had from before. To access the secondary menu, you just need to press and hold, and it will just take you there. In the case of the chord, you can go back right here. In the case of the chord, you just can press chord. It will ask you to create a chord, but when you release, then and only then it's going to take you to the menu. I will go into detail into each function in just a second, but the chord, plays chords. Then the scale, you work with scales, and then the arp, you use an arp. And this one, the hold, is just so you can hold notes. I'm going to press one key. Notice that it's holding. If I go to a different one, it will just keep holding notes. If I play a chord, it will hold it for me. To kill it, you just need to just tap the hold and it will just stop holding. Now the display and the buttons that you have right here is just like the transport. It depends on the program. In the case of our Arturia program, the buttons, this one will do a search. You can always go back. I will go into detail, of course. You can save favorites, or you just can, just search for different patches or presets. But then when you're using a DAW mode, I'm going to go to a DAW. I'm going to go there. The screen is very different and all the buttons are really, really different. In a couple of minutes, I will go into detail about the DAW mode, but, just to give you a quick tour, you can enable or disable, you can just arm, the track, you can solo, you can mute the track, you can also go to play the clip. This is about the clips. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then you can go up and down if you have a session mode. And then with this one, you just can select different tracks, pretty much. Now, the most confusing part is the one that says device or mixer. Let me just go to the drum track, the drum kit. So when you are working with device, it means that the knobs and the faders will control something about the device. And you cannot control the panning and you cannot control the volume. And this again, because you are on device. But when you go to mixer, the faders will control the panning of the tracks, and the faders will control the volume of that track. Now, as you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then you have the 9. So the 9 will always control the current selected track, because with the other ones, you can control the other tracks. And this one will be always, panning and volume. If I go here, this one will move the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and on and on and on until you get just, a batch of 8. But always, 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 the 9 will control the current selected track. Now, this is just a quick start. I will explain everything that you can do with the DAW mode in just a couple of minutes. If you want to skip or just jump to that section, notice that everything is time-coded and you have names for the sections. So you can just go there. And okay, so I guess we are ready to move on to the very specific sections, and I will begin with the chord mode. And okay, so when you press the chord, you will be on chord mode. And right there on the screen, it will tell you the mode that you're using. If you never saved a chord, it will be by default on octave. So it means that you will play a key and you will be getting an octave. If, of course, the chord is off, the button is off, you just get one single key. What you can do to record a chord, you need to press the chord, just press it and hold it. And now notice it says create a chord. And now I can just add different notes and it will just add it. And now when I release, I can just get that chord and it will be transposed for me. If you want to do it again, just press and hold. And notice that right there you get the chord and I release and you get the chord. Now this one is the custom chord mode. You have a lot of different chords, predefined chords that you can use. To enter to the menu, you need to go to the chord, press and hold, and then release, and you will be getting this screen. Now each button can do something. You have the preset, the strum, the voicing, and the spread. Now with the preset, when you go here, it will give you a menu of the different chords that you can use. And you can just play a key and then just go to a different chord. You get fifths, major, minors, then you get sus2, then 4, and so on and on and on. So you get a lot of different chords. And then you get 11th. Cool. I'm gonna select the minor 7 for now. Then at the bottom, you have the different modifiers, and this depends on the chord that you're using. The strum will give you that. If you go there, you can strum that chord. As you go up, it will go slower. If you go down closer to 0, it will, go super fast. But as you go up, it's just gonna get a lot slower. If I go all the way down to 0, it's just pretty much disabled, right? Still, when you enable, you get one more extra option, which is the type. And this is how you will be getting or doing that strum. In this case, it's just random. I can go there and just use different ones. It's going to be up, then alt up, then down, then alt alternate down, and then again, random. If at some point you want to go back to defaults, you don't need to go to that, to that button and then scroll all the way down. You just can press and hold, and it will take you to the default values. Same with the preset. Press and hold, and it will go back to the default, which is the octave mode. I will select the minor 7 again. Let me just go there. And then you have the voicing. And this one works with the presets or when you're using strum. It doesn't work with the user chord. So I'm going to go there and you have different options. You have on and then a bass -1, 2, and then 3. So I will go to off. When you're playing your chord, everything will be transposed depending on the chord that you select. So if I go here and you can see it on the screen, I'm using pigments, so you can see the keyboard. I'm going to do 1, then 2, 3, and then 4. Now, when I go to the voicing and I go on, it will use a variation of the chord that we are using. It's just way different. And if we kind of play it on a more musical way, it sounds, really different. And if I go to off, so yeah, when it's off, it's kind of blindly transposing the chords. But when it's on, it's just, a little bit better. Still, if you don't like it, you can just go to off. And then you have the same idea, but you get it with a bass, with an added bass. And you can do -2, which is the same idea, but it's just going to be lower. And the same thing with the 3, super low. And again, if you want to reset back to defaults, just press and hold and it will go to off. And then you have this spread. This one is super interesting. This one, what it will do, it will add voices and it will kind of stack the different notes that you're using on your chord, but it will do it on a different way. And again, I'm using pigments so you can see the keyboard. I'm going to put it on the screen. I will go to the spread. I'm using a -7, no strum, no nothing. I will go here to the spread and then we have velocity, aftertouch, and then we have different numbers. So first, I'm going to go to velocity. This one, what it does, if I play soft with the velocity, notice I get one single note. But as soon as I go over, I'm going to get more notes. So, depending on the velocity that you use, you will be getting more notes. And the same idea with the aftertouch. If I go to aftertouch, I need to apply pressure to get it. And then you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. If I go to 1 and I play it, you're just going to get 1. It doesn't matter what I do, it's just getting one voice. Then if I do 2, then we have 2 notes, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I do 7, we will get 7. Now you can go really up. Maybe if I go to 12, we will be getting it on the screen. And if, at some point, you know, this will be a little bit too much. If I go to 16, we can see it on the screen. Yeah, just a little bit too much. But again, depends on what you want to do. So still remember, you can use a combination of all these modifiers. Maybe I can do, I don't know, 8, I guess. Then I'm going to go to on, and then I can do a little bit of strum. You get a nice, real cool effect. I'm going to go back to defaults. And another thing that you can do on the chord mode on the screen is that you can record. Well, this is pretty much the same that we did before by holding the chord, but you can do it from here. If you press the button, it will, you know, listen, so you can add notes and create a chord. And the white ones, the notes that you add, will be your chord. So I'm going to add just more and you will get it right there. If this is okay, you press OK, and that will be your chord. If you want to reset, just press reset, and it will just reset the chord. And this is the way you get to clear the user chord that you can record by holding the button. I'm gonna go there again and just save the chord, just do something like that, and then press OK, and now we have the custom chord. So notice it says user. Cool. Now then you have the scale, and to turn it on, you just need to press the button and then it's on. Of course, just like the chord, hold it, press and hold to go to the scale menu. And this one is just pretty simple. You cannot do a million things right here. You can set the root and the type. You go here, select the root. Let's say that I'm just going to use a C, why not? And I'm going to go and make it a minor. The screen will let you know the notes that belong to that scale and the notes that you can play. On some other keyboards, when you turn on the scale, it will do something to the keys, of course. This is why we get the scale. So on some of them, it will let you play the notes and it will remove the notes that don't belong to the scale, so you cannot play them. And on some other keyboards, it will offset the notes, so you will be getting a duplicated note on your keys. So how it works on this one is that when you play the wrong note, it will play the closest note that belongs to that scale. For example, right here, we can see all the notes that we can play. So if I start playing notes, I'm going to play this one. This one doesn't belong, so then I'm still getting it. The note is the same note. So yeah, that's what we get. If you play the wrong note, it will play the closest one. And that's pretty much it. You don't have a lot of functions right here. What you can do, you can go to record and record your own scale. First, I'm going to go to reset, and this will clear all the different notes. And here, you just need to add the notes that belong to whatever scale that you want to create. So I'm going to go there, just add that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that's it. And then when you press OK, it will be using your user type of scale, and that will be your scale. One thing that you need to know is that everything else that you use in terms of the chord and the arp and everything else will follow the whatever scale that you selected. I will go to maybe the minor chord, C minor, and then I'm just going to turn on the chord. And the chord is using a minor 7, so I will always get a minor 7. But now I'm going to just keep tapping this C, and I'm going to change the different modes. And of course, we get changes because, I'm using a different scale. So yeah, the chord really depends on the scale. Okay, so the arp, it's pretty powerful. If you want to turn it on, just press it and it will be on. But, we need to go to the menu. So press and hold, and it will take you to the arp menu. So here you have the most common controls you could get within ARP. But then you have this random menu. If you press it, it will take you to a different menu. I will just show you how this works in a minute. But yeah, you get just a normal, regular ARP, and then you can just go crazy with the random menu. Now let's go first over the most default or just normal controls that you could get within ARP. I could just turn on the ARP and just play a chord, and you can hold it if you want. Just press hold and release. You get it. So then you get the modes. If I go to mode, you get up, you get down, you get inclusive. It will repeat the first and the last one. And then you have the exclusive, which is the same idea. You have random. Poly is just, it will just play the chord. And then you can play in order. This depends on how you play the arp or the chord, the actual notes. So this is order. It's also known as played. For now, I'm just gonna go to up. Now then you get, again, the most common controls. You get division, and of course it's using the BPM. You can change the BPMs from here if you wanted to. And also it's using the internal clock. This is why it says internal. If you want to sync to through USB, you can, or use Midi. This depends on what you're using. For now, I'm going to use internal. And you can go to the division and change the division based on your BPMs. You can go up, much faster, to a different division. Fine. I'm going to stay right there. And just like before, if I do something right here, and I want to go back to defaults, I just can press and hold, and it will just take me back. Then you have the gate. And just like any ARP or sequencer, you can go down on the gate and you will be getting a more staccato type of ARP. If we go up, you can go over the 100%, and it is that notes will overlap. This is very common when you go over the 100% of a gate. Right, let me just maybe go back to defaults, which is 80. And then octave, it will repeat the whatever it is that you did on the ARP as an ARP. We'll repeat it 1 octave up, 2, then 3, and then 4. And that's it. Now, one funny thing is that on this keyboard, you can go up to 4 up, but you can only go 1 down, which is a little bit weird, but that's fine. And that's pretty much it. Then you have the swing. Of course, you can do swing and get that, swing going on. Fine. Gonna go back to defaults. Now, all of this that we get right here are the most common features that you could get with an ARP. So whatever is that you do right here on this screen, the random will just take it and randomize a few things. So you will end up with something completely different. The idea of this menu is to randomize everything. If I go to velocity and I keep it on 0, I can go to minus. It will offset the velocity I play the chord. If I play very soft, and then just maybe go up. Some notes will go up in velocity. That's the plan. That's what it's doing. It's just randomizing the velocity. If I go down, it will be the opposite. Let me just go down. It will just randomize the velocity bit down. It's just going to take it down. So I need to play really hard. And this will just, you know, randomize down. So that's the plan. Now then you have the ratchet. I'm going to go back to default. And the ratchet, what we'll do, it will make a step play twice. 100%, let me just go all the way up. It will pretty much play twice on each of the steps. I'm just playing a triad, so it's twice on each. I can go down, and it will be playing twice on one of the keys I'm playing. We can go all the way down to 0 and, you know, back to nothing. If I do just a tiny little bit, is that we get it sometimes, and sometimes we don't. So it's the probability type of thing. Cool. Gonna go back to defaults on this one. Now then we have the gate, and this is just like the ratchet. It's a probability type of thing, and it really depends on the gate, the main value of gate that you have on the main screen. I'm gonna put it on 60. I'm gonna show you how it works. I'm gonna go to random, and then I'm gonna just go to gate, and maybe I'm gonna go up on the gate. And if I play it, notice that some notes are sometimes longer than the other ones. And it's because we are kind of randomizing this gate. If I go down, it's going to do the opposite. It's going to make them shorter. Cool. Then moving on, we have the octave, which is this one, and this one will do the same thing again. What is the probability of playing up? And of course it's an octave, that's why it says octave. If I go up, we will be getting more chances of playing an octave up. If I go the other way to down, we will be getting more chances of playing an octave down. There we go. And I'm gonna go up so we can read it here. Cool. Now then we have the division, and this one is really cool. Right now I'm using 1/8. Yeah, 1/8. So if I go to division, we can go down and we can go up. And notice it sometimes it will kind of play faster. And sometimes it just will go back to the default. So what this is doing, it's scaling up if you go to positives, or scaling down if you go into negatives, the whatever value that you have on the division. So this, it's something like, let me go back to the defaults. It's something like maybe going here and just playing and doing manually. Something like that. But notice if I change it manually, it's a little bit choppy. Well, with the random, what it does, it will just do it a little bit more naturally. If I go all the way up, notice it's just super musical. And that's the plan. You know, keep it musical. Now then, you have the skip and the trick. Think of the trick and the skip as a rest, or maybe a skip step. Now the skip is for skipping a step, and the trick will pretty much add a rest. So think of a sequence. If you have a sequence and you add rests to the sequence, you will be getting silences. So I'm going to play whatever triad, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to go to the trick and I'm going to edit these values. Notice that if I go up, it's already on 100. That's the default value because we are playing all the notes of the chord I'm playing. If I go down, we have less probability, or more probability in this case, of adding a rest. So it's just not playing the note, but we are getting a silence instead. Now then, on the other side, we have the skip, which is the same idea, but instead of just not playing the step or the note, it will skip it, and it will move on or jump to the next one. If I go up, notice that it changes a little bit. Sometimes it's not playing the 1, 2, 3, it's going 1, 3, and then 2. This depends on how many keys you play. this case, it's just playing one, and add one more note, and it's a little bit more obvious. So yeah, it's just going in one direction, and instead of moving on to the next note, sometimes it's skipping to the other one or not. Now, of course, you can go manually crazy on all of this controls and get something completely interesting, but then you have this button right here at the bottom, and with this one, what this will do will randomize all of the values, so you can get different results every single time. Sometimes you're not going to get something cool, but sometimes you will get it. Cool. If you don't like the random that you did and you want to go back to defaults, long press the random will just go back to the defaults. All right, so let's deep dive into the different programs. You get the Arturia program, you get the DAW, and then you get the user. First, I'm going to start with the Arturia. Now, this controller works the best if you have any of the Arturia synths or analog lav. When you are on analog lav, the knobs and the faders will control the analog lav mappings. They are sensitive too, so you don't need to move the faders or the knobs just to know which values you have. If you touch, you will be getting the values. Now, there's an issue right now. I don't know if this is a firmware problem or maybe just an update, something that they need to do. But sometimes when you touch the encoders and you touch them back, you're not going to get the values back. And if you're working on DAW mode or user mode or even standalone mode, you don't get this issue. Maybe this is something that's happening right now with Ableton. I'm using Ableton. Maybe I should check it on Bitwig, but still, I shouldn't be getting this issue on Ableton. Maybe if Arturia is listening, maybe you should, take a look at this. When you move the encoder, it will control something about that synth. And again, when you move the knobs, it works really, really great. Even if sometimes the sensitivity is not working, everything else just really works. All right. What happens if you try to use this with a different synth that it's not from Arturia? Well, the knobs and the faders will not be mapped to anything, but you can do the mappings manually and it will work. Now, sometimes when you're on the Arturia program and you change tracks to an instrument that it's also an Arturia instrument, the interface, the screen, it's not changing, but you are able to play the other instrument. Let me show you. So right here, I have this one. If I play it, this comes from Analog Lab. So now I'm going to get out, going to go to Program, change to DAW, and I'm going to go to a different track. I'm going to go to Pigments, and I'm going to just arm this track so I can just select that one. And when I play it, I get Pigments. So I will go back to Program and go back to the Arturia. And notice that it's showing me the patch and the interface of Analog Lab. So how can I refresh this screen? So this is pretty simple. You just need to go to the search. Once you go to search, go to back, and now I have the other instrument. Now I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go to Program. I will go to DAW, and I will go to the track number 3. And this one is, again, a different Arturia synth. I will select this track, arm the track so I can use it. Then I'm going to go to Program, then Arturia, and I'm still stuck on the other screen, on Pigments. So I will go to Search, and then back, and now the interface, it's the correct one. Cool. Another thing that might be annoying, but it's just the way it works, and it's actually good. Sometimes I'm going to be on this screen on the Arturia program, and everything's fine, I can use it. Cool. If I make a mistake and I go back, it will take you always to the DAW program. So you don't need to, go to Program and change it. If you want to go back to the Arturia program, then you go to Program, you go to Arturia, and you're back to the Arturia program interface. Okay, so let me go back to the Analog Lab. I'm going to go there, just arm the track so I can select it, then go back to Program, then go to Arturia, then search and back, and then I have the correct screen. So let's talk about what you can do on this on the screen with the buttons. So the main encoder, what we'll do, it will just give you different presets. The thing is that, it will not change the preset. To change the preset, you just need to push and confirm, and then and only then it will change the preset. Still, by using the up and down, you can just change presets on the go. Now then, the other cool thing is going to be the search, and this one is super cool. I will go here and it will give you an interface so you can search your different instruments. And this one, whatever you do here, is pretty much controlling what happens when you go to the Analog Lab and you're trying to use the explore function. I'm going to stay here, and while I'm just searching different params or selecting different values, notice that the screen on my Analog Lab is changing as well. So you can see it in real time. So once you're here, you can search by types, instruments, genres, and then banks. Pretty simple. You just maybe select a type, and then once you select a type, it will take you to the different categories. So you can go to bells, maybe keys. I'm just going to select keys. And now, of course, since we are filtering by keys, I'm going to be getting patches that will meet that criteria. I will go back again to search, and then again you can search by instrument if you must. You can go to styles or genres, and then you can go to banks. Now if you select a bank and again you go to the main screen, all the presets will be about that bank. I'm going to go back, and you can go to the factory presets of maybe that bank, and you will be getting the factory presets. But right here at the top, you have the liked. What this will do, it will filter all the different banks and everything else where you have presets with likes. You have liked presets. In my case, I only have favorites on factory and XMB Mini Freak. So if I go there, and we can see it on the screen, I'm going to show you on the screen, I'm going to select this bank, and I can only see the liked presets of that bank. And again, I can just, change them and just get them. Now, if I go back and I remove the liked, I always go back to, the default list. And if you go to different presets where you don't have like, and you want to like them, add them to the favorites, you just can tap it, and there you go. You add the preset to the likes. Now notice at the top, you have 3 dots. I'm going to just tap this, and you will be getting all of this. So this is the edit preset. As soon as I touch it on Analog Lab, it's going to take me to this screen where I can edit the effects and everything else. The thing is that right here on this screen, the only thing that you can change is the bass, mid, and treble. And of course, the volume of the patch. And if you're wondering where this is, well, it's right here. You get the treble, the mid, and the bass. So you can change them from here. So this is what you can do with the 3 dots. If we go to a non-Analog Lab, and you know what, I'm going to do it from here. I'm going to go back to Program, then go back to the DAW, and I will select maybe the June 6V. I'm going to arm it so we can just get it. And then again, go back to the Arturia program, go to the search to refresh the screen, and then go back. I get, the synth. Notice at the top, you don't get the 3 dots. So yeah, you don't get the 3 dots if you are not using Analog Lab. Still, you have the split, and this is about the parts and multi-presets that you can set up with this controller. So, let's talk about that. At some point, you will find a multi-part one, which will show you 2 different synths on the screen. What we are doing is we are loading 2 presets at once. And you have mainly 2 ways of playing this. You can play the left side, which will play the first synthesizer, and then the right side will play the second synthesizer, or the part number 2. I'm going to show you how to create your own custom multi-part preset in a second, but first, let's try to learn whatever is that we see on the screen right here. At the top, you have the split. We are going to talk about that in a minute, but then you have the part 1 and the part 2. So you get this so you can control the 1 or the 2. Right now, we can control everything about this preset. But if I go here and select the part 1, notice that this one is orange. If I go to the 2, the other one is going to be green. So when we use the part 1, now what we can do, the faders and the encoders will control something about that part 1. If I go to the part 2, then again the faders and the encoders will control something about the part 2. Then just like the other presets, you get the 3 dots right there. And this is again the same, it doesn't change right here. You still have access at the top, but you can control the master, bass, mid, and treble. And of course, the main volume of the patch. Okay, so let's try to create our own custom multi-preset. And to do it, we just need to go to a single patch. I'm just gonna select one. It doesn't matter which one, just select one. And I guess it sounds like that. That's fine. Now then, you need to go to the 3 dots, go there, and it says add part 2. So we need to hit on that one. So when you go there, it will say part 1 and then add part 2. So this means now that we need to find a patch. If I just press it, it will let you audition both presets, the part 1 and the part 2. As I have that bass, and now I have some strings. So let me just change it to something else. Okay, so I kind of like this one. So it's a bass, and then we have some kind of a bells on the part 2. And that's it. Now, the thing is that when you are here, you can, of course, select the part 2 by selecting the preset and then just push to load. But then if you want to change the part 1, you can. You just need to go there and just do the same. Just change it, push to load, and then audition the other part. So if you want to change, for example, the part 2, go back to the part 2, and then again, you repeat, you just change it, and you select a different part. So when you are done, you just click the done and you are done and you get the, the multi-preset. All right, so I'm back to a default patch and I want to create a multi-part. We know how this works. We go to the 3 dots and then I want to add the part 2. Fine. So here, since you are auditioning for a new preset, I'm gonna select that one maybe. What you can do, since you can select the different parts, you can use everything that it's at the bottom. You can just use it, change the presets with this one, and then audition. And you can also go to the search and use the favorites. So yeah, it's just like navigating or using a default normal preset, but you do it for the part. So let's say I want some keys. I'm gonna go there and just do, I don't know, all, whatever, doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna be selecting just a preset from the filter. And I can do the same thing for the part number 1. I can go here, maybe just find the favorites and then go and maybe select a bank. I'm gonna maybe go, I don't know, to factory, it doesn't matter. And then I'm just gonna change something and select it. And there you go. So again, you can use the same tools that you get when you work with a single preset. Now, when you're editing, at the left, you have the delete button. So if you want, you can delete the part 2 and just go back to a default preset. In this case, I'm just going to say done, and I'm going to keep this combination. So what we just did is the parts. We assigned a part 1 and a part 2, and then you have the other side, which is going to be the split. So when we create a multi-part type of preset, when we play a key, both parts will play at the same time. It doesn't matter where we play the key. With the split, what we can do, we split the keyboard and we can play with the left side, the part 1, and with the right side, the part 2. The thing is that we need to define or decide which one is the split point. And you can select any key, it doesn't matter. Well, how we do it is we go to split, we press and hold, and then just tap a key. And right there, it's going to tell you the split point. Now, if I release, when I play the left, I'm getting the part 1. And then if I go to the right side, above the C3, I'm getting the part 2. If you want to disable the split, you go to split again and you just tap the key that was the center point and notice it says split is off. Now still you have a more detailed way of doing this. I will go to the 3 dots and inside the 3 dots you go to the keyboard, and inside keyboard you get almost the same thing, but notice that you get the part 1 and then the part 2, and for each you can change the values you have at the bottom. So what you can do, you can define your low key. So these are ranges, is the range, low key and high key. So maybe let's say that I can go here, and you need to do it with the arrows. I'm sorry, with the encoder. You can select the portion of the keyboard that will only play the part 1. So I can maybe just select this portion, and then if I go to the part 2, maybe I can make this play the part 2. And then instead of just splitting the keyboard, we only play a range of the keyboard, and you do it manually. Still, here you can go to the split, hold, and just set the split like we did before. But also when you are on part 1, you can, if you want to, you can transpose from here by semitones, or you can do it by octaves. And same thing if you go to the part 2. If I go there, and that's it. You don't need to go, to the interface of on your DAW just to change or transpose. I'm gonna press back, and when you are on this screen and you select a part, notice that you have more options right here. You can replace the part after you create the multi-preset, and this will take you to replace the part. I'm gonna show you in a minute. But what you can do right here, let me just play something. You can adjust the volume of the patch, in this case part 1. You can toggle it off, so I'm not getting it anymore, and you can just pan it. Maybe I can pan it to the left and then go to the other side and just change the volume and then pan it to the right. And again, we can just activate and deactivate. Fine. So also you can just hit the replace, and once you go to replace, it will take you to the edit, the multi-preset, so you can select a different preset and then just do what we did a few sections ago. All right, so let's talk about the DAW program. And I have to give you a big disclaimer. The DAW program depends on the DAW that you're using. From factory, this controller comes with a lot of presets and default mappings for your DAW. The things that you need to kind of select it. Usually, I guess I was going to say synth, but no, the controller will detect the DAW that you're using. But still, if it's not detecting, you can't change it manually. For this, you need to go to the settings, just go to settings, then go to global, and then right there at the bottom, if you keep scrolling down, it will say DAW protocol. And right here, you just need to to push and then select a different, a different profile. And you have a lot of different ones, including MCU and HUI if you must. You get the most popular DAWs. So, I'm pretty sure you're going to get yours. So I'm using Ableton, so I'm going to use Live. Oops, made a mistake. Let me just go back Live. So when you select a program, you need to read the documentation, because again, depending on the program that you're using, the profile that you're using, you can do some things and you cannot do some things. So let me just take you to the documentation of Arturia. So there you go. When you go to the resources of the KEYLAB Mark III, if you keep scrolling down, at some point you will find DAW integration scripts. So this one, it's the script that you can download, and this is the script. If it's not here, you just need to download and load it using the software. And then at the top, notice that you have the guides. So when you download the guide, it will tell you what you can and what you cannot do with your DAW and your controller. Okay, so you have the undo and the redo, and they work as expected. And then you have the quantize. This one is to quantize your clips. I have an unquantized clip. I will hit quantize, and it's just, doing the quantization. And if I want to undo, I can go to undo and get it back. Then you have the save, and the save, notice that it's off. This is the retrospective recording, or maybe on Ableton it's called Midi capture. And this is if I play something, it doesn't matter what, it's going to capture that MIDI, and I can just, take it to a clip and just get it back. It's super weird. I'm going to undo and then just go back to what I had from before. Now, then with the encoder, we can select different tracks. There we go. Now, one thing that you can do if you're using, or you have a track that contains an Arturia plugin. When you go there, it says Analog Lab. I'm going to push the encoder and it will take me to the Arturia program. That's, super useful. Of course, this only works if you're using an Arturia program. Then what happens if I want to go back to the DAW mode? Like I said before, we kind of discussed this already. You can go to back and it will take you back. And if you want to go in, just tap it, you go in, and then you go back to the DAW mode. On the main screen at the bottom, you have the solo with this one. This one is going to just solo the track. This one is going to arm it. And this one, the yellow one, is just going to mute the track. So again, it really depends on your DAW and what you can do on your DAW. Now the play will launch the scene. If I play it, it will just launch the scene. And if you want to stop it, you just tap it. It won't stop. It will just restart, and that's normal. If you press and hold, it will just stop the scene. If you want to select a different place, but the up and the down, you can move around the grid. Now also notice that the screen at the bottom tells you on which scene you are. If you go to 2, 3, 4, and on and on and on. I will select the track number 1 that has a drum kit. And as we know, when you are on device, we discussed this at the beginning, when you are on device, the knobs and the faders will control something about that device. So if I go here and move this one, this is the first macro of the drum kit. And again, this one will move the macro from the macro 9 all the way up. Remember always that the last fader and the last encoder is going to be the volume control and the panning control of the current track. What if you have more devices on your track? How can you just select them and then control them with the macros? Okay, so now I have more things going on. I have the drum kit, the compressor, and a reverb. So how to change it? Well, you just need to go to the button, in this case device, just press and hold it, and then you can rotate the encoder to select a different device. And that's it. When you are there and you release, that device is selected. So now the encoders and the faders will control that device. Now then, on the mixer is the same idea. We discussed this. When you go to mixer, you can control the pen and you can control the level. And it's of the track 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 8. So what happens if you have more than 8 tracks? Well, it's the same idea. You just need to hold the mixer, just like we did with the device. You hold the mixer, and notice it says mixer control 1 to 7. So we'll just go here, and you need to scroll if you have more than 7 tracks. In this case, I have 8. Let me add a few more tracks. All right, so I have a lot more tracks right now. I guess I'm going to go to mixer, and it says 1 to 7. I'm going to go here, and now it's selecting 9 to 12. So this will control the tracks from 9 to 12. And just like that, when you need to move to the other side and maybe control 1 to 8, you just hold the mixer, and then you go back and you control the first 8. All right, so let's talk about the user program. And right here, I can only take you so far because you can do a lot. And all of this is just about configuring every single thing that you get on this controller. If I provide an example for every function, every single function that you get, this will be a 4 hours, super long, boring video. When on a DAW or Arturia program, you can only access the global and keyboard. If I go to the settings, notice on the screen, we get the global, we get the keyboard, and everything else is just grayed out. And this is because behind the scenes, everything is pre-configured to you. You cannot change it. I'm going to go to the program, and instead of just selecting one of the 2 that we get, I'm going to go and just add a new program. It will ask you just, add the name or change the name of this the program. In this case, I'm just going to say OK and create a new user program. And the program just looks pretty much the same. The thing is that, of course, it depends on what we want to do. We need to do the configuration. And for that, we need to go to the settings again. And when we go to settings, now notice what we get. All the options that were grayed out on the Arturia program and the DAW program are now available. On a user program, everything is raw. You need to do it yourself. The encoders, the buttons, the faders, pretty much everything. And on the main screen, you can do it from here. You can go to maybe, let's say, encoders. And once you're there, you just can configure the encoders. I'm going to go there and just push to get the list, and it will give me access to the encoder 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. When I say encoders are just this ones. So if I maybe go to the number 1, I can go there, and now I can just change everything about that encoder. You can change the name, what it does, which CC number it's going to output, and all of this is just, again, something that you need to do manually depending on what you want to control. If I want to go back, maybe let's say that we want to configure the pads, well, then we go to pads and you get all the different pads and you configure them. What else? We can maybe go to the buttons, and when it says buttons, it's talking about the display button. We get the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4. So if I go to maybe the 1, it's we can change the name. In this case, maybe I'm going to change the color so you can see which one it is. I'm going to go there, and when I change the color and I go back, and we go back to the main screen, I'm going to get out of settings. Notice that this one is the first button, and we are on the main screen of the user of the user mode. So yeah, that's what you can do. If I go back to the settings, again, you can configure the keyboard, the wheels, the pedal if you must. So yeah, you need to do the work right here. It always depends on what you want to control. Maybe you want to control a hardware synth, and you need the list of the MIDI implementation chart, so you just can map all the different parts to that synth. Maybe you want to create a custom DAW and just trigger some custom functions of your DAW. Well, you just need to go to work and use the user mode. What if you want to control more things? Well, you can create multiple user modes. If I go to program, I'm on the user 1, but I can go to add new and just create a new program. Of course, rename it, and then you will be getting it. I'm going to say OK and just get the user 2. And I'm not really sure. I guess you can have up to 8 different programs, including Arturia and DAW. Sometimes doing it from here, from the actual hardware, is just not that fun. What you can do, you can load MIDI Control Center, and you will be getting access to most of what you can configure. If I go maybe to an encoder, the number 2, you can do the same thing that we did, but you get, the interface on your computer. So yeah, it depends on how you want to do it. You can do it with the computer, or you can do it through the integrated interface. Now I'm going to go to the program. I'm going to show you a couple more things. I guess I'm just going to go to the Arturia program. So when you are in a program and then you go to settings, you can only change the global and the keyboard, and that's fine. We know. And the global and keyboard, it's something that it's always present on all the programs. The thing is that if you go to global, you can edit a lot of the things that are super annoying on most controllers, like the velocity, and if you have aftertouch, how the aftertouch works. Just to give you an example, I could go to the global curves. If I go there, it will give you the velocity, how the aftertouch works, but notice that you cannot change it, and it's because it's linear. If I want to change the velocity, maybe I can change it to something else. Maybe I'm going to go to fixed, or you can go to custom, and if you decide custom, you can go at the bottom and set the custom curve of the velocity, and this is just a fantastic thing, because you can edit how you want for the velocity to work. Same thing with the aftertouch. If I go here, I can go all the way to custom, and now this one will use the custom curve that we just, used. Then of course you can change the pad. We can make it logarithmic, exponential, and everything else. Then you get the same thing for the pads, and you get the same thing for the aftertouch of the pads. I'm going to go back, and if I go back to the main, you have the control. You can, of course, control your axe. Then I'm going to go back, and right here you can calibrate the pedal, select what's going to happen with the MIDI at the back, and then you have the pad settings. This is something super useful because most people, when they get a controller, the pad is just not the way they want. So, and some controllers, they don't let you really configure how the pad really works, or how sensitive it is. Well, right here you can configure the sensitivity, and then of course you can set the minimum or maximum aftertouch. Then if I go back, you get the same idea. You can change the brightness of the keyboard. You can, take it down or just go up. And I guess at this point, I'm just, boring you to death. You can maybe go to the sleep mode if you wanted to go to sleep after 5 minutes or maybe more. And if you go all the way up, it's gonna give you the Vegas mode, which is all the flashing lights. I don't really like the Vegas mode. Now this was super interesting. It says welcome page. So when you turn it on at the beginning, it will just show a screen asking you to select a program. Well, if this one is disabled, just like that, when you turn on the controller, it will not ask you for a program. It's just going to load the last program that you used. If you liked this video and you find all of this useful, please like and subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this channel is supported by viewers only. I get nothing from Arturia. So, and I would love to, but I don't. So if you want to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee just to say thanks through PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. You have the links at the bottom. So see you next time.